Okay, so at this point, I'd like to welcome the past coordinator of the student forum, the person of Brother Alex, to come and address some very important question here. So please, can you not see the
How can someone tackle these things? How can you stop believing that there is another time to do what you are supposed to do that is important? And also, how can you stop being afraid of workload? Now, I have a few tips that is going to help us. The first thing you must do is that you have to categorize your activities. Define the categories of all your activities. Now, every activity that you do as a person, maybe after a day, you can take an inventory of everything you did for that day. I suggest you do this. So take an inventory of everything you did that day. You find out that everything you did that day enters 4 categories. Any of these 4 categories. The first category is urgent and unimportant things. Things that are urgent, but they are not important. The second category is urgent and non-important things. Things that are urgent, but they are not important. The first one is urgent and important. The second one is urgent and non-important things. The third one is non-urgent and important things. The fourth one is non-urgent and non-important things. These are straightforward English that I may not have time to explain them, but let me just give examples of these things so that it's going to help us to categorize our activities. Now, when you talk about urgent and important things, if you become sick, your health becomes urgent and important. True of us? True. So you will almost most likely do something about your health because at that point it is urgent and it is important. Now there are urgent but non-important things. For instance, take for instance that I'm coming back from school and I meet a couple of my friends and are going to the PlayStation to play maybe video games. Now, in that instance, if I don't follow them to go and play that game, I've missed something urgent, right? So it means that that is the only time I can do that with those of my friends. But in actual sense, when I evaluate the value of what they are going to do, you find out that it is not really that important to me. So even though it is urgent, but it's not important. Are we following? Now, when you talk about urgent, when you talk about non-urgent but important things, in fact, this is where you should devote more of your time. For instance, when the semester starts, your academic does not look urgent. True of us. You can afford to, take some time, play around and all of that. You get. So, but the truth is that when you begin to invest in important and non-urgent things, what will happen is that you will have less of urgent and important things to deal with. I can guarantee you that there are persons during the exam period that they are not in trouble as you are. They are not worried about their academics as most of you are. And the reason why they are not worried is because over time, they invested in their academics when it was not urgent. So now that it is urgent, they don't have so much to do. So this is the first thing you have to do. Categorize your activities. Everything you do, make sure you define the category and begin to do more of important but non-urgent things. I'm sorry that my time is up and I've not said the main thing I wanted to say. Now, the second thing that is going to help us is schedule. Now, if you look at the first thing I explained, it deals with the idea that there is time, right? It deals with the idea that there is time, which is the first problem with procrastination. Now, when you talk about schedule deals with the second cause of procrastination, which is the fear of workload. Now, most times when you push things to the future, it's simply because your mind is afraid to do it now. Now, how are you going to make your mind see that this work you want to do is not actually that hard? You can use schedule to do that. And how schedule helps you to do that is that schedule breaks the things you are supposed to do into little things that you can do per day, that after a period of time, it will measure up to something big. Now, I will make it very practical. Take, for instance, that in the beginning of the semester, you decide to be reading one chapter of a textbook per day. And you have like 3 months for a semester. Now, when you look at one chapter of a book per day, in 24 hours, it's not a big deal. But when during the exam, when you look at a textbook that you have not touched at all, and you have the exam the next day, it becomes a very big problem. So one of the things I'm going to help you is that you create a schedule, and how the schedule is going to help you is that the schedule is going to make you begin to do things little by little. And when you begin to do these things little by little, over time, it measures up to something big. Now, for your relationship with God, for instance, if I ask you how many books you have read this year, maybe spiritual books, you will tell me you don't have time. But if I tell you that somebody can actually read 24 books in a year without stress, it will be difficult for you to believe that. But I bet you that if you read a chapter of a spiritual book every day for 1 year, you will read more than 24 books. Now, when I say 24 books a year, some of you, your minds were frightened. But when I said 1 chapter per day, at least your fear came down. Because your mind is seeing 1 chapter per day as doable. But your mind is not seeing 24 books a year as possible. So schedule helps you to break things down in minor forms that you can take up. And when you build it up over time, it can measure up to something big. Praise the Lord.